It's looking more and more like CJ Stroud's not going to play against the Tennessee Titans. He hasn't been officially ruled out as we start this show, but we've seen some positive progress from the Texans, specifically offensively, in the last couple of games. And by in the last couple of games, I mean in parts of the last couple of games. Can that keep up? We'll discuss that, take a look at some news on the Houston Astros front, go around the league, and put on our tinfoil hats for Tinfoil Hat Thursday. This is the Gallant Says podcast with me, Paul Gallant.
A radio show host in Seattle called Paul Gallant.
Paul Gallant's wondering the same things a lot of people are.
You are definitely living in the hindsight world today, Paul.
Do you feel there's been a consistent theme with the interceptions?
I think every interception really has a different story.
I was just kind of curious what Paul gets to say.
Grow up, mother. Are you kidding me?
Paul Gallant, what the hell is wrong with you?
Welcome aboard the Gallant Says podcast. Oi! It is Thursday, November 13th, 2025. Live on YouTube at Paul Gallant, on Twitch at Gallant Says, X and Twitter at Gallant Says Pod, Instagram at Sports Gallant, TikTok at Gallant Says. No, I'm not getting a haircut, Birdman. Fuck off. Facebook at Paul Gallant Sports. You can join this show Monday through Friday at around times to be determined Central Time and occasionally after major Houston sporting events. Did yesterday's show at 3. Did Monday's show at 7. Did Tuesday's show at 1. We're doing today's show at 2. We're trying new times to see when we get the most traffic. We appreciate your patience as we try to figure out what time works. No matter what time it airs live, you can always get it after the fact wherever you get your podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. After the fact, if you want to cut me off mid-thought in the midst of this bad boy, super chat me on YouTube, the best way to watch the show, and I'll play this. And I'll get to your comment right away. You can also leave comments the old-fashioned way, email gallantsays@gmail.com, or by calling, leaving a voicemail, 281-836-3912, or a text message at that same number. Tyler Riggs says, yo, you're the guy that dropped those Davis Mills taking over for CJ Stroud ads. No, that was a pack. That was the Mills Mafia pack. Do you hear me with a little Texas twang? No. I might have posted them because the Mills pack paid me to post them, which goes to show you my journalistic integrity, which is very, very, very small. Very, very small. Pay me, baby. Please. Just pay me. Advertisers on the Gallant Says podcast, possibly you. Latest on the Texans injury front. CJ Stroud didn't practice again today. So that means it's likely going to be Davis Mills on Sunday, as we said yesterday. Mills, for what it's worth, was on the injury report yesterday with a left elbow injury. I am really curious about what's going to happen for this team the last couple of weeks of the year. We've got, with the Texans now, 4-5. Doing a little math. 8 games left. We're halfway through. A little over halfway through. Are they going to be able to keep doing things that they have done at times over the last 3 games? Let's throw out the Seahawks game. That was a fucking disaster. They played really well against the 49ers, start to finish. It was CJ Stroud's best game since his rookie year, if not as a pro. Did they figure something out there? Is offensive coordinator Nick Caley finally figuring things out? We might have learned the answer to that question against the Denver Broncos, but Stroud suffers that early concussion during a game where the Texans, at first at least, were moving the football. If they weren't getting into the end zone, they were at least driving it on one of the best defenses in the league, the Broncos defense. Davis Mills comes in, and when you don't have time to prep as a backup quarterback, very often you're going to be SOL when you get out there. It looked awful. Then Sunday against the Jaguars, it started off looking awful. But as the game wore on, it felt like the Texans maybe got back to whatever they were doing against the San Francisco 49ers. Is that because of the offensive coordinator? I don't know. Is it because of the offensive line combination that they might have stumbled into? I also don't know. Paul, what do you know? Great question. What do you know? What do any of us know? I do know that Sunday against the Titans is a bye week. I don't care what they did with their head coach, getting rid of him, bringing in Mike McCoy. I don't care what the Texans say about this team leading up to the game. This is a team that looks like it has quit on this season, a team that it doesn't seem to, it doesn't look like they enjoy playing for Mike McCoy, their interim head coach. What else do I know? I don't know if they keep up the things that have worked. I really want to know what they're doing on the offensive line. Because they started off Sunday's game against the Jaguars with some dude that none of us had ever heard of. City Sal, who had some Patriots ties. For some reason, this guy was the starting right guard at the beginning of the game. So, with that in mind, why did you do that? And is this combination of the Texans' offensive line the one that they're going to keep going forward in some way, shape, or form with Titus Howard back from a concussion? You had Trent Brown at right tackle. Left tackle, you had Ariante Ursary. Left guard, it was Jared Patterson. Center, it was Jake Andrews. Right guard, it was City Sow at first. It was Drew Scruggs at the end of the game, and then it was Trent Brown at right tackle. We'll see if Brown plays this week. We'll see if Titus Howard plays this week. It is definitely trending that way. Is that offensive line or some combination using some of those cast of characters the key to this offense keeping things up? Yesterday, Texans offensive coordinator Nick Caley talked about that.
I think, look, what goes into it is just what can we do to give ourselves what we feel throughout the course of the week or a cumulative body of work to give ourselves the best chance to go out there and compete. And so whoever's out there, that's what we felt, was best for the team. I thought Jared played, tough, played, smart. He's a competitor. He's got a lot of flex. He's played a lot of football. So really happy the way that he battled throughout the game.
Point City, so what was the evaluation on him to get the start, and what changed after just 9 snaps? We were like, nah, that's not it.
Yeah, I think just every single week, again, it's a body of work. So, City had put out really good, I would say consistent performances day after day of practice and given an opportunity to go out there and compete. Nothing more, nothing less. We're going to always have an opportunity to compete. I don't think anything's fixed, and that's what practice is for.
That last part's really interesting to me. The offensive coordinator is basically saying that what happens in practice goes a long way to determining who plays and who doesn't play on Sunday. On one hand, that's good. I mean, there's always competition. No one's ever feeling secure in their job. On the other hand, how do you create familiarity between offensive linemen, chemistry? How do you get these guys in sync when you're constantly mixing and matching? And doing that in games in addition to doing it at practice. It really makes you frustrated that you have so little reps, full pads, full contacts for offensive linemen during the offseason, right? But that was interesting. Nick Caley saying nothing is fixed as far as what that offensive line is going to be going forward. Well, how do you keep doing what you did offensively at the end of Sunday's game against the Jaguars and at the beginning of the game against the Broncos and for the entirety of the game against the 49ers, if it's what happens in practice that determines what happens in the game? Especially given, and I could be wrong on this, I doubt that the practice full contact is very close to game speed. I just don't think it's there. So that was Nick Caley talking about the offensive lineman. He also, at yesterday's press conference, talked about Woody Johnson. perhaps playing a little bit more. Texans running back, who I know a lot of fantasy football owners would like to see play more. Here is Texans offensive coordinator Nick Caley.
Plan rotation, or is he kind of taking that lead back role?
Yeah, I think it goes with, everything. You go into a game and you sit there and you try to have balance in a variety of ways for all the right reasons. And sometimes, you get into a rhythm, and he played well, and he was playing well down the stretch. I think they both complement, him and Nick both complement each other. So he did well. It's hard to say how every game's going to go. Sometimes it doesn't go the way you want it to, but he did a great job, and I thought played consistent throughout the game, and happy with his performance for sure.
Okay, but that doesn't sound like he's locked into playing, the next game. Just a thought. By the way, D'Amico Ryans officially ruled out C.J. Stroud, so he will not play on Sunday. Also, Kaimi Fairbairn out again, which means Matthew Wright, the kicker that doesn't inspire a lot of confidence because he looks rather nerdy, will be kicker again. Safety Jalen Petrie also out. Stroud missed 2 games when he had a concussion in 2023. He misses at least 2 games with a concussion in 2025. At least the Texans are taking care of business. They're not rushing guys back when it comes to that. Good question, Jacob Ross. Did I say Woody Johnson? I meant Woody Marks. Jesus. Woody Marks. Woody Johnson is the shitty owner of the New York Jets. Ay, caramba. More from the last couple of days, and if the Texans are going to be able to keep things going the way they've been going, do you have faith in this team to put the right guys out there? Will they keep playing the right guys out there, or is it all determined by what happens in practice? Listening to what Nick Caley had to say there about Woody Marks, and then hearing D'Amico Ryans on Monday on Texans radio talking about the rookies for the Texans, I wonder if what Caley says there lines up with what D'Amico says here.
What about the rookies?
Yeah, no more rookies. Like Woody, let's go. Woody's doing a great job. We got to continue to feed him more. Yeah. Higgins on the outside, we got everybody sees this guy's catch radius is insane. Put the ball in his vicinity, he's going to go and get it. You need a big play. Who shows up on 4th down? It's Jalen Noel showing up when we needed it most to make that play. So these guys are not rookies. They're making plays in the critical times of a game, crunch time. We need it most. We're counting on the rookies. Tay is doing a great job there at left tackle, continuing to battle down in, down out. He's getting better as the season is going on. So, yeah, the rookie nameplate is off. It's like, let's go, and how can we finish this season the right way?
Play them more. All right, they're not rookies anymore. What's the hesitation in putting them on the field? Play them more. More Jalen Noel. Less Christian Kirk. Woody Marks has to play because of the running back situation for the Texans. We have sort of an update on that I'll get to in a moment. I do like Marks first, Chubb second. Chubb is the battering ram after Marks makes you tired. That's the 1-2 combination that they had Sunday against the Jaguars. But to go back to what we heard right there from Nick Caley, and what you're going to hear from another Texans coach, it really seems like what happens every Sunday is entirely determined by practice. And I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. What am I talking about? Well, I'm curious as to who's going to be a returner for the Texans on Sunday. And it seems like that also is determined on a practice by practice, week by week basis. Here is Texans special teams coordinator Frank Ross being asked about what the hell's going on with the returners and the changes that we see so often at kick returner and punt returner.
I think we've kind of talked about it multiple times. I think I will always play to the nuance of how people are being used on every side of the football. Like, who's available is not going to be a 17 times over repeat thing. It's just not. The NFL is too violent. There's, a lot of sprinting that happens. Like, we lost a gunner 2 weeks ago because we punted, eight times, something like that. Like, that's a lot of sprint yards. And So those things are always going to be. I think Jalen is obviously somebody that I am so glad that we're here. He is our starting returner on both a combo as both kick and punt return. Weekly, down in and out situation in the game, trying to get other great players footballs is all going to always play into that. So it's not a wishy-washy answer. The truth is we always will rotate if we have that luxury or if it's afforded to do that on purpose.
But here's the thing. I mean, Noel's clearly better than everybody at this. Nothing against Braxton Berrios. Definitely holding things against Tremont Smith because he had that fumble. Noel's clearly the best guy with the ball in his hands. And if you are not putting him at receiver often, then have him return kicks more. A week like last week where he's not used that much, it really doesn't make sense to not use him as a returner, right? What are you saving him for if he's not playing at all? I'm curious as to what the Texans do Sunday against the Titans. I think whatever they do, it's probably going to work because the Titans stink. They've quit on the season. But it is interesting to note hearing what they had to say about why they decided to go with City Sow at right guard, a good week of practice, and hearing Frank Ross there talking about the luxury of different returner options. It seems like, hey, if one of those guys has a good week of practice, we put that guy back there too. The Texans are clearly putting a lot of stock into their practices when it comes to determining who's on the field. And I don't hate it. I think it breeds competition, but at this point in the season, I feel like you should have a pretty good feel for who is playing the majority of the time on your team. And I don't know that practice reps in the National Football League midway through the season should be that big of a determinant. But that's just me. Will they be able to keep up what they've done in some of the last couple of weeks? Again, we shall see. The Millen 6460. Yes, we are talking about practice. Tony the Handsome says anyone in this chat can start for the Texans and beat the Titans. Maybe. More comments. Let's go to the TikTok side of things. A lot of people would like to see more Jalen Noel out there. I don't understand it myself, guys. Truly, I do not. Tyler Riggs thinks Caley is keeping his cards close to his chest, answering, perhaps. I mean, he's definitely not giving it all to us. Do any coaches do that? They're so paranoid, like they're carrying state secrets. I don't work at fucking Lockheed Martin. Fantastic Life asks, what's the chance of Stroud playing this weekend? He's out. Throw Up asks, or just states, it's obvious Mills has his favorite targets. He feels comfortable throwing to those guys. Well, I mean, he was so comfortable throwing to Christian Kirk that he telegraphed an interception, 1 catch for 3 yards, you know? I think it's time for Noel. More Noel than Kirk. Kirk's a good backup to have, but that has been a flop, and it's made worse by how good Stephon Diggs has been for the Patriots. Diggs has been money. Can't believe he's a little over a year recovered from that torn ACL. I mean, he suffered that in the middle of last season, and he was back at the start of the year for New England, and he's had an impact in just about every single game. He won the game for them on Sunday, had that beautiful 4th and goal touchdown catch, and he, while getting crushed, caught an onside kick that popped up perfectly right up in the air from the Bucs, got drilled, held onto it to ice the game. Tyler Riggs says it speaks more to May than Diggs. Watch the games, man. May's playing great, but Diggs has been awesome. Letting Diggs out of his contract early after trading a second-round pick for him. Obviously, the Texans couldn't have predicted that he'd tear his ACL and that Tank Dell would have a horrible, gruesome knee injury. But what was the benefit in voiding the last couple of years of Diggs' contract? Was he not going to play this season if he had a good year? It's not like he was setting the world on fire last year with the Texans, but he was a reliable target for C.J. Stroud. Not Santa asks, find someone who feels the way that Paul Gallant feels about changing time slots. Yeah, we're changing it up. We're trying to figure out what time gets us the most views. I do appreciate the Twitchers who show up regularly, and maybe I need to give you guys a little bit more of a heads up, because that's generally the most active chat on Twitch at Gallant Says. Give me a follow, but I'd take a sub. But YouTube is where it's at as far as money for me, and I'm trying to figure out what time is best. Tomorrow's show might be earlier than normal. I don't think I'm going to go so far as to have it at 7, but it might be at 11, because I just want to gauge time differences as far as when I'm starting the show. The show yesterday and the show the day before, the later afternoon time slots, did a lot better numbers-wise than the one that normally airs at noon. You know? Fantastic Life asks, Chubb consider the starting running back? That position doesn't really exist anymore. Running backs are generally rotational unless they are Jonathan Taylor. You know, like there's a few running backs that are in there every single down, but the idea of a starting running back or running back one or whatever, I don't think it really exists outside of a select few in the league, you know? Not Santa says people are on the road at 7 in the morning. Yeah, and do people check this out at 7 in the morning? Would you listen to this? Would you watch this at 7 in the morning? I don't know. Figuring things out, guys. That's all we're doing. We do have some good news on the health front for the Texans, I guess. And I don't know what to make out of this other than, hey, he's got both his feet. We've been waiting to figure out what's going on with Joe Mixon. And if you take a look right here, you can see, I guess you can't quite see because of the bottom line here. Let's move it to here. Does this help you out at all? It seems that Joe Mixon has both of his feet. So that's nice. They're both there. I don't see him in a walking boot. I don't see any brace, anything there. It looks like he's okay. He didn't lose his foot in like a tragic firework accident because it's a non-football injury. I don't know, man. All I know is that he has 2 feet, and that's definitely a good sign, in my opinion. I don't know what's going on here. There's the whole rundown, everybody. You just saw the rundown. How about that? What else do we have here? Tyler Riggs says, imagine Joe Mixon coming back for Bills on Thursday night. I doubt he would be coming back for the Bills game, but maybe after the Bills game with that long week, they could. Lawrence outside Stafford just texted in on the Gallant Says voicemail line at 281-836-3912. I thought for sure Joe Mixon was in jail. Hey, that's not cool. Come on. He also asks, maybe it's the NFL thing, but I'm okay with D'Amico Ryans celebrating Fat Man versus Joe Espada doing that cringy announcement of Cam Smith being a starter for opening day. I'll be honest, I don't know what either of those are in reference to, but we appreciate your text. Ryan Lost in Texas is asking, have you ever thought of doing a shirtless show for the ladies? My girlfriend supports this. Do we really want to do that? It's so much more white, you know, the lighting. I don't exactly feel as hot as I need to these days. So we're going to change subjects, everybody. Let's talk about our beloved Houston Astros. Some updates with the winter meetings in Vegas upon us. The Astros are going to have a 3-person hitting department. Victor Rodriguez, they hired over from the San Diego Padres, is the #1 guy. He's 65 years old. In 2 years with the Padres, San Diego had baseball's lowest strikeout rate, and the sport's highest contact rate, said Victor Rodriguez about the Padres' approach last year, quote, "I think our philosophy is more about you have a better chance if you make contact. I know at times you'd rather even strike out than make contact into a double play. But I realized that that part of hitting has been going. It's gone." I like it. It's old school. I know a lot of the new age dorks don't like that, but to be frank, fuck y'all. That's how I feel. I miss the days of batting average mattering. I really do. I like guys who can just slap the ball into the outfield. Just drop it in like you're Tony Gwynn. Poet, and I didn't even know it. Rodriguez has 20-plus years of experience, and a lot of that time he has spent with Mike Schilt, who was the former Padres manager. He resigned this offseason. So Victor Rodriguez from the Padres, the number one hitting coach for the Astros. They moved on from their hitting coaches from the past few years, Alex Cintrone, and I forget the other guy's name, Troy Snitker, off the top of my head. I was actually able to get it. Who would have thought? Baseball Paul strikes again. They also hired Anthony Iopace. I do not know if I'm saying that right. It might be Iopace. He's 52 years old. He went to Lamar University. There's an article about him from The Athletic earlier this year. He's obsessed with biographies. How did you get to this point? He was the Detroit Tigers' first base coach for the last 2 years. He was a hitting coach before that for the Rangers and Cubs, and he was the hitting coordinator for the Boston Red Sox in 2022. He's got 20-plus years of experience. They also, the Astros, promoted their hitting coordinator, Dan Hennigan. Hennigan joined them last year. He's a biomechanics guru, whatever the fuck that means. So he goes from being the hitting coordinator to the director of hitting and the team's offensive coordinator, but he's not going to be in uniform. Apparently other teams were interested in his services this winter, so they promoted him to keep him around. Couple of commenters on Twitch. Big Bear, Bear Brother 123. Uncle Mike would be a great hitting coach, but he has small children, probably not interested. And he's probably made millions. Why would you be a hitting coach? Talked about that with Chandler Rome when he was on the show. Also, Big Ron says, thoughts on Uncle Mike for hitting coach? Yeah, not happening, man. Not happening. What they're going to do is they're going to roll with this triumvirate. Victor Rodriguez is the number one hitting coach. Anthony Iopace or Iopace is the number two hitting coach. And Dan Hennigan, who was the hitting coordinator, is now the director of hitting and their offensive coordinator and won't wear uniform. It's so funny that baseball has offensive coordinators. Dana said of the shuffle, I think in the past, we didn't have our number one truly defined. They were kind of like co-number ones. I think these guys are all bringing their own specialties. I think Victor Rodriguez, has a unique skill set in being able to tap into the psyche of a lot of players. And some good players from the past. Iopace, I don't know how to say his name, comes with a lot of energy and experience after doing it for 6 years as a number one, but now he's a number two. So Cintrone and Snitker were co-number ones, but now they have a number one and a number two. All right. Interesting. Very interesting. More when it comes to the Houston Astros this offseason. It's one of my favorite segments. We used to do this every Wednesday because he would be on the Astros flagship before my show was on. You're probably wondering, Paul, what the hell are you talking about? What are you talking about, man? I am, of course, talking about this fantastic segment. Are you down with Dana Brown? You down with Dana B?
This ball club's it's too good.
You down with Dana B?
He's pretty much giving me the steering wheel and said, hey, this is your gig.
You down with Dana B?
These guys have been out for so much of the season that it feels like we're acquiring too many players.
I guess we'll see. So there you go. Are you down with Dana Brown? A lot of updates from Dana Brown from Vegas at the winter meetings. He was asked about the Astros' return to play procedure and all the injuries they suffered last year that led to some changes. Moving on from head trainer Jeremiah Randall, who had won awards as their head trainer way back in the day, but something clearly wasn't working. And I would argue that the return to play process for the Astros, which was called into question by former general manager James Click a couple of years ago, has been a massive problem for them. So Dana Brown was asked about it. He said the Astros are taking a deep dive into their return to play procedure. Quote, we felt like with all the injuries and using 60 players to get through the season at times, we felt that some of the guys came back a little sooner than we would have expected. Huh. Is that good? Is that bad? Tough to get a read on that quote without being in person to see him say that. They came back sooner than we would have expected because they had great recoveries. Clearly, that's not the case with Yordan Alvarez and wasn't the case the year before with Kyle Tucker. Maybe Jake Myers got rushed back this year. Yordan clearly was rushed back because he still had a broken hand that was supposed to be hand inflammation. That answer does not satisfy me, Dana. It does not. More, are you down with Dana Brown? Per Brown, Isaac Paredes is 65% recovered from his hamstring injury. He might be behind when the Astros report to spring training, but should be fine for the start of the season. God damn it, here we go again. Here we go again. Ugh. Intentional vagueness. Suppose it allows for plausible deniability, for wiggle room when it comes to a guy coming back. But fuck, man. Ugh. He might be behind when the Astros report to spring training, but he should be fine for the start of the season. All right, whatever. Yordan Alvarez is jogging at 65 to 70%, expected to be ready for spring training. What the fuck is jogging at 65 to 70%? Fuck. Maybe it wasn't Jeremiah Randall. Maybe it wasn't the Astros head trainer. What is jogging at 65 to 70%? What does that even mean? God damn it. Another update. Josh Hader has thrown off the mound 3 times. He's progressing well. Brian McTaggart had a funny report about Josh Hader throwing. Dana Brown said Hader has been thrown off the mound 3 times and should have a normal offseason progression. Sounds like he's wrestling out there. Per Dana Brown, Jose Altuve, Jeremy Pena, they're totally fine. Dana Brown was asked about the Astros hitting coaches, the new ones. We just talked about that. Triumvirate. Victor Rodriguez is the number 1. Anthony Iopache is the number 2 guy. And Dan Hannigan goes from hitting coordinator to director of hitting / offensive coordinator. When asked about the new hitting coaches, Brown said, quote, we weren't getting good pitches to hit last year. We were hitting pitches that were sort of in the strike zone, the edges of the strike zone, not in the middle of the strike zone. Our goal is to be more patient all the way up to 2 strikes and to get more pitches we can do more damage with. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know why it didn't happen last year. Seemed like they tried the first couple of games and then they just went away from it entirely. More from Dana. Quote, I think we got away from that and guys were swinging on the edges and it showed in terms of slugging percentage. I think we'll get back to that with some veteran leadership. Yeah, and you've got older guys as your hitting coaches. I am guessing Alex Cintrone is in his 40s. Alex Cintrone, age 46. I'm guessing Troy Snitker in his 40s. 36. Compared to, for the Astros, new coaches, Victor Rodriguez is 65 years old. Could be both of their dads. Anthony Iapachi is 52 years old. All right. Change in age means change in approach and maybe some more patience. And maybe some old-fashioned contact hitting as opposed to swinging at everything. More from Dana Brown. Are you down with Dana Brown? Cam Smith is not a lock for the outfield all season long, and not even necessarily as, I guess, a starter going into the year. Dana, when talking about Cam Smith yesterday, said, quote, "The talent is off the charts. He could be a star one day. We all know that. We saw glimpses of it last year, but we're going to need him to be more consistent." He had an OPS of 489 and 170 plate appearances after the All-Star break last year. So he stunk down the stretch. More from Brown on Smith. Quote, "I would think he comes back and tries to play with more consistency, makes the necessary adjustments, but we have to be open to sending him back to AAA if he hasn't turned the corner." Interesting statement, because who the fuck else is going to play in the outfield? Jason Thompson says we need Kyle Tucker back. Well, they're not bringing Kyle Tucker back because they're not going to be paying Kyle Tucker. Sounds like there's a chance Jesus Sanchez comes back. Jesus Sanchez is set to make north of $6 million in arbitration. He seemed more open to trading Jesus Sanchez than having him on the field. They did trade for him. Not much to get him. I think right now you do have to look at him as an actual option to bring back, but maybe they don't. Maybe they don't go into arbitration with him. $6 million's a lot for what he did not bring to the table, which was anything, you know? So I wonder about that. Is Altuve going to play in the outfield again? Is Jordan going to play in the outfield, given all the injuries he's had? Sounds like they're also hearing that there's interest in Jake Myers. Chandler Rome reported that. What? Who's going to play in the outfield then? I mean, Jake didn't play a lot of last year because he was hurt, and he always gets hurt. But kind of interesting to hear the Astros, and specifically Dana Brown, talking about their approach for the outfield this offseason. So are they looking at Jacob Melton? Are they looking at Bryce Matthews? Yeah. So there you go. Are you down with Dana Brown, who also said the Astros are looking at all sorts of candidates to be their new farm system director? The last guy they had was Jacob Buffa, and insert your D's Nuts joke after that. Some comments. Hugh Dab says Altuve on left field full time. Todd the Show says hopefully the new hitting coach can teach Cam Smith to not swing for a home run every single swing. Dude swings out of his shoes every at bat. I think it'll work. Hugh Dab, when I ask what the fuck is 65 to 75% jogging, says it's about 15 to 20% running per sports math. Interesting. Very interesting. Greg Todd brings up that Justin Verlander is a potential return for the Astros. Yeah, I saw the Crush City podcast with Chandler Rome, with Tyler Stafford, and with Josh Reddick talking about the possibility of Verlander coming back again. He got better as the year went along, and they probably need some starting pitching depth. How much would he cost? A great question. It would be hilarious if he was back for what would be a third stint with the Astros in his 40s. Big Ron asks, Caratini in or out? Great question. I don't know. No update on that yet. We will find out. Someone's calling out Jordan as being soft. Blah, 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 blah. Hunter Brown's going to get paid, guys. He was third in the American League Cy Young voting. He was on 29 of 30 ballots, got 24 third-place votes, and as a result, the Astros get a draft pick after the first round because he was a top 3 guy. Only one writer didn't have Hunter Brown on their Cy Young ballot. Can you guess where they were from? Not LA, not New York. Can you guess where they were from? glad the show's right. South Oklahoma. It was AP Dallas writer Stephen Hawkins. He was the only one who left Hunter Brown off the Cy Young ballot. He gave his 5th vote to Jacob deGrom. While we're talking about Hunter Brown, who's going to get paid eventually, hopefully by the Astros, but probably not by the Astros. Scott Boras set up shop yesterday at the winter meetings in Vegas. Scott, you don't get to talk yet. Shut the fuck up for a second, okay? Here is Scott Boras specifically talking about Hunter Brown yesterday. Because remember, Hunter Brown, and Jeremy Pena too, is now a Scott Boras client.
Well, certainly Hunter's, now achieved the stature of Cy Young voting. He's in a very special category of performance that is among the Cy-type pitchers. And Dana is fully aware of that. And certainly I'm sure they have a strong desire to keep him. And what I always tell them, we'll certainly listen to what they have to say.
So that's Scott Boras on Hunter Brown. I'm about to give you a doozy of a take. I think every single fan base is scared of Scott Boras because you're afraid that he will keep your favorite team from keeping your favorite players. And that might be true. So why not create a wedge between Boras and his client? You heard Scott talking about Hunter Brown there. Generic answer. You don't take a lot out of that one. Where was energy like this from Scott Boras for his client, Hunter Brown? Where was it? He did not bring any of the same juice to the table that he did when he talked about Alex Bregman yesterday.
I would certainly think that, like in Boston, we learned a lot about Bregman in 25 because in Boston, prior to 25, they had a lot of lineup do-not holes. And certainly prior to 25, Boston has been a kind of a club that's been, has Duncan well below the playoff line. So I think it was a bad roast in Beantown. And certainly, and give the owners credit in 25. They went out and spent some Starbucks to bring in a Bregman blend that led them to the playoffs. So I'm sure the Boston fans don't want this to be just a cup of coffee. And no one wants a Brexit.
Oh my God, all those dweebs around him. He made a lot of donut puns there. He made too many donut puns. It's Scott Boras. It's so funny. It's so funny. Scott, help me break a story, Scott. Help me break a story. But Hunter Brown, did you hear that? Where were the puns for you? Does he give a shit about you? I don't think so. I didn't hear one pun in that lame-ass answer he gave about you. And yet, here he is going dad at the Improv with a bunch of puns about fucking donuts. This asshole doesn't care about you. He doesn't care. He's a greasy, slimy agent. He's not going to care about you until it's your time for a new contract, which he might not even be able to get you. Where were the puns? Where were the puns? He hates you, in fact. I'd go that far. Hunter Brown, if Scott Boras isn't willing to make the worst donut jokes for some fucking reason about you, talking about what you are and what you could be, then he doesn't give a shit about you. Jeremy Pena, pay attention. Pay attention. Something to keep in mind. I mean, all that effort for one client, an arm who was going to make Boris a ton of money a couple years down the road. And Bregman, who once again is hitting free agency because the team he was with hasn't brought him back, is getting a minute of donut and coffee references. Anyway, Paul, you're reaching here. No, I'm not. I'm not reaching. I'm not. A couple other baseball tidbits. Baseball is going to limit what you can bet on prop bets. I'm sure that'll stop the gambling amongst players. I guess you can only go a max of $200 now. And Paul Skeens, per an ESPN article, has been talking to some of his teammates in Pittsburgh about joining the New York Yankees. But when asked about it by reporters Wednesday night after winning the National League Cy Young Award, he said, "I don't know where that came from. The goal is to win, and the goal is to win in Pittsburgh." Sir, that's not possible. We appreciate you trying to have the best poker face you possibly can, but the Pirates are fucking losers. They're a loser organization run by losers. You're going to be gone. You know it. We know it. It's kind of sad to tell your teammates, yeah, I'm going to be going to the Yankees. It's like a orphan at, what are those called? Like an orphanage. Saying, yeah, I'm about to get adopted. You're not. You're not getting adopted. You're ugly. You're not getting adopted. You're old. Kind of fucked. Kind of fucked to Paul Skeens. Yeah, I'm going to go to the Yankees. I'm going to the Yankees as soon as I can. Some comments about the Texans and the offense being back on the right track. Make Gears Great Again says, no, the Texans are not back on the right track. They beat a team with a bad defense, and they're going to beat another bad team. But when they play the Bills, they will be back to their old selves. I don't know. The defense is so good. Feels like they will be in a rock fight with the Bills. Brandon Halam says, we were back on the right track 3 times already this season until we faced a good defensive line. No, that is totally fair. That is totally fair. And it does feel like coming out of what you heard earlier in the show from, coordinators, it does feel like the Texans are putting a lot of stock into practice as far as who gets to play and who has to sit. Yeah, Greg Todd, I'm with you. The Bills do not scare me. I'm not predicting a Texans win over the Bills on a short week, especially if C.J. Stroud's status is still up in the air after Sunday. But they got killed by the Dolphins. They didn't just lose to the Dolphins. Jason Thompson brings that up as well. Yeah, I'm not frightened of them at all. H-Town Hard Hitter asks, Paul, why do you despise Boston media? That's not Boston media. That is just all baseball writers right there in that spot. And there are some that I like because I know them. But I just think that there's a lot of... It's a lot of crusty old dudes who take things a little bit too seriously for my liking, I'm sort of like, hey, baseball, it would be more fun if there were people who were fun who covered the sport. But that's just me. Brandon Halam says the tough game for the Texans left will be the Chiefs and the Chargers games. Perhaps. Let's keep rolling through. Have you guys been paying attention to what's been going on with the Philadelphia Eagles of late? They seem like a complete shit show. And yet, I don't think it's the end of the world the way some are trying to make it. Yesterday, if you watched the show, we played a clip of A.J. Brown on a podcast, I guess a Twitch stream specifically, where he said, nah, things aren't going great for me right now.
Like,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Like family good, yeah.
Yeah.
Everything else, no.
Man, everything gonna click, bro. Chat, chill, look. Everything gonna click, bro. Trust me.
Shit show.
Family good, everything else, no. It's a shit show.
Hey, bro. Hey, bro. No, you got chat cracking up, bro.
Awesome. How you been? Yeah, I've been, struggling, brother.
How you been? I am struggling, brother. More from A.J. Brown, who did not back down from those comments yesterday about things being a shit show in Philadelphia. This is from his meeting with the media the very next day. I got to get through an advertisement before I can play this. Because, of course, ESPN is slamming bet advertisements down everyone's throat. Here is A.J. Brown talking about the Eagles' offense and what he meant while he was hanging out on that stream.
What it was, thank you for the ring, but it's a new season. They adapted, we have to adapt, and we have to continue to get better and try to find new ways. So that's where the frustration comes in, because it's not about winning, you guys. I want to win, yes. I want to help contribute as well, do our thing on offense as well. I think that's fair. I don't care if I'm misunderstood. I stand up in front of it and fall on that sword over and over again. It's about doing what we're supposed to be doing on offense. And if we are really in this business for trying to get better, we got to do what we got to do. And not just say, oh, it's about wins. So as long as we got the win, it's cool. No, that ain't what. No, you cannot do that. Not in this league. We got to continue to get better. We got to do what we have to do on offense to help the defense, to help the special teams.
So, look, he sounds like a malcontent when he's on the sideline. There's no denying that. I mean, he's reading a fucking book at times. And he sounded like a malcontent when he was on that stream. Everything he said there, that's what I want to hear from one of the players on my team during a time where they're all frustrated about the lack of offense. He didn't back down from those comments yesterday. When asked about that video, Brown said, I was just talking to my friend, having fun with my friend. I'm not apologizing for that. If you have eyes, you can see that. It's not I was throwing anyone under the bus. I'm trying to laugh through this shit. This shit is tough, but I'm trying to make fun of the situation to try to get through it. He did that. But he's in Philadelphia, a city that cares more about the NFL than probably any city in the United States. I think the Eagles and Philadelphia are married on a level that no NFL major city is married to its team. It's all about the birds up there. I say this as somebody with half of my family from Philadelphia. Everyone is circling right now, even though the Eagles have one of the best records in the league, even though the Eagles did just beat a not very good on offense, but good Packers team in Monday Night Football. They have the best record, tied with the Seahawks, tied with the Rams, who are both looking a lot better than the Eagles for the top record in the NFC. But you would think that because A.J. Brown's on this live stream, and you would think that because A.J. Brown is not backing down from those comments he made on a live stream after the fact, that it's a fucking disaster in Philadelphia. People think the Eagles perhaps are cooked. I'm not going that far. Here is more of, at least in their interactions with the media, drama coming out of Philadelphia. This is an interesting exchange with Nick Sirianni and Eagles media from yesterday at practice. Video courtesy of NBC Sports Philadelphia.
What we called and what was
I guess
and what
the greater
they
issue is why in the first 59 minutes was AJ never targeted beyond.
Were we in a debate, or is that what? Or
Well, I think that's a fair question to ask.
what's the question?
But why wasn't AJ targeted beyond the first two drives, and it took until that moment for you guys to throw to him deep?
Yeah, again, games. If you look at the game and how the game went, there's a lot of plays in that game that are going to him that, for different reasons, don't. For instance, Smitty's touchdown. That play is going to AJ. They took it away, and he threw it over the top. You can't look at stats and just say, this is what's happening. You can't paint the picture that way. I know that's sometimes is all the information that you guys may have, but you can't look at it that way and just say, here's how the game is playing out. Like, there are reasons and different things. A.J. Brown is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, so of course we're trying to get him involved in the game every single time. Sometimes it goes like it did in the Rams game or the Vikings game, and sometimes it goes like it did in this last game.
So, Sirianni getting all the combative questions from Philadelphia media, and eventually he got to the point where he said, ugh, these questions about A.J. Brown, I'm fucking done, bro. More from Nick Sirianni yesterday, as people seem to think the Eagles are a disaster.
When you say it was kind of business as usual with AJ, I mean, his latest comments, made it seem like it's not.
Look at his face right now.
Business as usual. Like, how do you kind of reconcile that with them?
Yeah, guys, I'm close to being done answering these questions with this. Like, he's working hard, and he is a big part of this game plan, and will be a big part of the game plan going forward. And he's working like crazy when he's here.
But they're still trying to get that quote. Philly media is pretty tough. I'll say this. I don't think the Eagles are in trouble. I know a lot of people are saying that, but I think a defending Super Bowl champion team that's 7-2, that is having tough conversations with itself after a win, that's what you want to hear about. You don't want to hear the kind of gaslighty stuff that you sometimes hear from D'Amico Ryans after the Texans win a game. They're pissed about the win they had. I love that. It's like on that Quarterbacks TV show where Joe Burrow's pissed about a game that the Bengals won because they were so sloppy along the way. You want this out of your team. But because this is a high-profile team and because there's been drama in the past, specifically with Nick Sirianni, who I thought, given all the drama I was hearing on the outside, should have been canned after the season that led into last year's Super Bowl victory, they clearly know how to handle this. And a lot of the best organizations in sports who also happen to be in places where a lot of attention is paid to them on a level that's not like here in Houston, they probably get stronger through all of that extra attention. This is also happening with the Golden State Warriors right now. Did anyone notice this? Yesterday, there were a couple of clips from Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler calling out teammates, and everyone's wondering who and if the sky is falling for the Warriors. And look, I don't look at the Warriors as a team that's going to win this year's championship, but I'm always going to respect the Warriors as long as they have Steph Curry. I think Draymond Green's still a big part of what they do there. Jimmy Butler is still a big part of what they do there. Certainly no pushover, as the Rockets found out this past postseason. That was a tough 7-game series. The Rockets deserve credit for hanging in there. But everyone's looking at this in the same way they're looking at the Eagles and are acting like, oh my God, what's going on with the Warriors?
I think everyone has a personal agenda in this league, but you have to make those personal agenda work in the team confines. And if it doesn't work, then you kind of got to get rid of your agenda. Or eventually the agenda is the cause of someone getting rid of you. And so, I think you don't want a team with no personal agendas, because a goal is an agenda, And so You got to have some type of personal agenda. But like I said, you got your personal agenda must fit into the confines of the team.
People are looking at that, and they're saying the same things they always say about Draymond Green, who can be annoying from time to time for sure and definitely does a lot of bullshit on the court, but it's someone that I do think that I would want in my locker room, even if he might punch a guy in the face every now and then, you know? What did he say right there that's so controversial? What did he say right there that's so bad? You're seeing the usual suspects who maybe have a personal issue with Draymond Green pouncing on this. Jimmy Butler, same thing. And look, yeah, Jimmy Butler can get a little bit annoying and whines about situations that he's in all the time. There's a story about how some people are annoyed with Brandon Podziemski for saying that he wants to be better than Steph Curry. Yeah, everyone should want to be better than Steph Curry. People are focusing on a lot of stories that have drama involved with them with the Warriors and are like, this team's fucked. And I mean, I don't know how deep they're going to go, but I bet they'll be in the playoffs, and I bet they make the second round at the very least. With the Eagles, are they as good as the Rams right now? Maybe not, but they beat them. Are they as good? And they beat them a lot recently. Are they as good as the Seahawks? I don't know about that. The Seahawks might be the best team in the NFC the way things are going right now, but they've been there and done that. And I think that strong locker rooms actually thrive in drama. I'd point to the Seattle Seahawks of the Pete Carroll era. How many times did you hear stories coming out of that locker room where it seemed like everybody hated each other? Richard Sherman said, fuck you, Russell Wilson, while picking him off at practice. Real story. Seems like a lot of Seahawks players didn't like Russell Wilson, and it might have been a valid reason behind that dislike if you go back in time. But all of those guys, a locker room filled with crazy people. Michael Bennett, Earl Thomas, Richard Sherman, many more. Percy Harvin. That locker room got through all of it and won a lot. They're throwing the football away from being two-time defending Super Bowl champions. They almost got it. Didn't quite get it. It's an incredible 2-year run for them. Never quite the same after that. But they always thrived through the drama. The Warriors thrived through the drama, and the Eagles have already thrived through the drama. And it's crazy after a game where they beat a good Packers team in Monday Night Football that people are writing them off because of all the hullabaloo that's coming out of the locker room this week. Anyway, let's go around the NFL. Let's go around the NFL. Let's go around the NFL. Give me that theme song. This song's such a banger. I'm never going to tell you where it came from, though I think if you've watched long enough, you probably know where it's from. Rob Gronkowski says he is not worthy of a statue bigger than Tom Brady. He signed a one-day contract with the New England Patriots to retire before tonight's Thursday Night Football game, Patriots-Jets. I imagine he's going to ring the lighthouse or whatever the fuck they do in Foxborough now.
What's your vision for the statue up front?
Tom statue? It's beautiful. Yeah, Tom's one of a kind. Like, Tom, I don't you're throwing me on the spot like that. Mind if you put one, just put me in the end zone and me tiny, because Tom is one of a kind, the greatest. He played for 20 plus years here. I think that the only statue to be deserved here is Tom Brady. I mean, so I just will honor it and take pictures next to it.
So that's Gronk talking about Tom Brady's statue. I don't think Gronk's worthy of a statue, but he is one of the best Patriots ever, and arguably the greatest tight end ever. I think only Tom Brady's worthy of a statue. And if somebody ever tried to take that statue down, I would declare jihad on them. After all, I am the Ugandan Muslim mayor of New York City, although I have a mustache right now, in solidarity with communism. Anyway, continuing. The Kansas City Chiefs lost to the Buffalo Bills last time they played. They had a bye week to think about it. It seems that the Bills are always going to stay the Bills because apparently the Bills shared that they had a tell for Xavier Worthy after the game.
After the Bills game, Harrison was saying he was picking up tendencies on Worthy and stuff like that. I mean, number one, is it possible to happen? Did you see it when you went back and looked at things, and how do you prevent that?
I didn't necessarily see it, but I mean, obviously, if he said it, he saw something, and so we'll be better at looking at things like that. I appreciate the info so that we can be better at that as the season goes on.
Yeah, why are you giving that free intel away to the Chiefs? Why would you tell them that? Why would you tell anybody about it? If you have a tell, don't tell anybody. Save that advantage for yourselves. Especially after a regular season win. Yeah, we're so smart. We picked up on this. Shut the fuck up. Shut up. Oh, the Bills always are going to Bills. By the way, Patrick Mahomes was asked about sports gambling and, you know, the dangers of sports gambling, and had an interesting answer on that. By the way, this show would endorse gambling if someone offered to endorse it with gambling. But until then, we don't really gamble.
The betting stuff, how much has the NBA and MLB stuff been present in your mind? And do you feel like the safeguards are all in place well in the NFL?
I mean, they let us know. I mean, the NFL and the NFLPA kind of tell us all the different rules that you can and can't do. I just stay away from it, just because I don't want to put myself in that position. I mean, that's something that your life's so great. Why mess with it, you know? And so it does get. I think more than anything, to me, it gets weird sometimes when like you have fans talking about it, just because like you're just trying to go out there and live your life and play the game, and sometimes they get really attached, even more than like a regular fan, because they have money on the line. And so for me to them, I would just say don't do anything that you can't recuperate or live without. And so it's a crazy world we live in these days, seeing all this stuff happen. But I think you just focus on the football and focus on the sport that you love and why you're here, and you have to worry about that.
I'll be honest, I'm gamblinged out. I'm tired of seeing like just random hot chicks popping up on social media. Of course, not as hot as my girlfriend, and blabbing about their picks. Everyone has a pick show. No one's close to 70-80%. I liked it when it was more of a niche. Now everyone's fucking doing it. Like, I don't know. Not for me. Not for me. Maybe I need to do it. Maybe that's how I make money. Maybe that's how this show finally takes off and runs. Continuing to go around the National Football League, Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars are trying to get back up from the mat after that collapse against the Texans Sunday. Here's what Lawrence had to say about that.
We didn't get it done last week. You know, we didn't finish the game well, and we own that, and we have to move on and go try to beat a really good Chargers team this week. So that's the thing about the NFL, is it doesn't let up, you know. So you can't stay in the rearview mirror thinking about the last one, because this one is just as important.
He's right on that front. But I wonder if they're going to be able to move on from that. I don't know if Liam Cohen's the guy to make it happen. Travis Hunter's out for the year. Liam Cohen, Jaguars head coach, was asked about the idea of Hunter staying a two-way player yesterday. Here's what he had to say.
Do you expect him to be your number one receiver and your number one cornerback at some point down the road?
You know, it's all that's very premature to answer at this point. You know, you have a lot of confidence in the makeup, the person, the competitor, the athlete, the talent. Like I said, so many players have gone through minor setbacks for major comebacks, and that's been the complete message.
I think they should think about one position for him. I don't know that it's linked to the LCL injury that's going to keep him out the rest of the year, but Jaguars are certainly trending in the wrong direction, losing their top pick, who they traded all that ammunition to get, and of course blowing a 19-point lead to a backup quarterback. Dan Campbell, before Lions-Eagles, was asked about the tush push. Everyone's asking questions about the fucking tush push these days. Not quite as tired as sports gambling takes, but here's Dan Campbell being asked about that.
Any problems with it this year? Has that caused you anything?
I mean, I don't know. Well, here's why. I'm a purist, man. You take something else out of the game, then we're taking the next thing out of the game. Then you're taking another thing out of the game. Then pretty soon we don't have pads anymore. And then pretty soon it's you're only playing 30 minutes, and then pretty soon it's, so that's why I don't want to take it out of the game. It's something, a team's got a niche, they found something, they're good at it, and it's for everybody else to stop, and it's unique, and it's physical, and more than anything, I just don't want to take anything else out of the game. I just want to leave the game alone. That's me.
I like that he's got a meathead approach to this because that's on brand with who he is as a person. It would be nice if they could actually officiate it correctly, but there's always false starts happening on the play. More around the National Football League. Jameis Winston is back. Here is the Giants starting quarterback being asked about starting in New York.
Do you want fans to know about you? I want fans to know that I'm going to do my best. Obviously I'm going to have fun, but I'm going to execute, have a surgical execution, and just play ball, man. Like, this is something I've been doing since I've been 4 years old, and I just get to do it in the greatest city in the world. I'm going to be saying it with my son. It's the greatest city in the world. Yeah, that's a Hamilton reference if y'all don't know. 10-year reunion.
So he's referencing Hamilton. Is that from Hamilton? I don't know if it is. More Jameis being a goofball before his first start with the Giants.
Finally made it, huh? Finally made it.
I like that he sings as much as he does. He has become incredibly likable. More on whether or not we should like him in just a second. More Jameis, now he's talking about getting a good night's sleep.
How much sleep do you think you're going to get some good sleep. It's beautiful when you can get sleep because you feel like that you're where you desire to be. And I'm just extremely grateful that I get to be the starting quarterback for the New York Football Giants.
Here's the thing about Jameis. Yes, you can ask that question. Who doesn't love Jameis Winston? Greg Todd says, Paul, that's literally you. Well, are we allowed to find him amusing given in 2012 he was accused of sexual assault by Florida State student Erica Kinsman? They settled in a federal lawsuit. Also, are you allowed to like him when he ended up getting suspended the first 3 games of 2018 for inappropriately touching a female Uber driver? The sexual assault allegation that was settled in federal court was not looked into at all by the Tallahassee Police Department. They didn't look at that at all. So, are we supposed to forget that? I don't know. It's always weird with Jameis because he does seem so fun and goofy and stuff, but I don't know. So did OJ. More around the National Football League. Bo Nix is hearing a lot of critics, a lot of naysayers, and says he doesn't listen to criticism unless you say it to his face. Here is the Broncos quarterback who barely beat the Raiders and helped the Broncos barely beat the Texans.
For whatever reason in life and in football, people think that we have this opportunity to doubt or question or hype up or tear down, these guys. And it's really in sport in general. We make this entertainment business a lot bigger than what it is, and we forget that, everybody's just out here having a good time, having fun, doing the best they can. But for me, it's quite simple, really. I delete all my social media. I don't even have it. So unless somebody says it to my face, I don't really hear it. And nobody's ever bold enough to say it to your face.
What about Sean Payton? I think Sean Payton is bold enough to say it to your face, Bo Nix. Just a thought. He should be, because the offense has been rough. Michael Penix, Falcons quarterback. Dude looks dead. Here he is at the podium talking about a not very supportive sideline for him in Atlanta.
Get it going.
I know you lean on your faith, but like, who do you lean on to like help you? Like, we haven't played quarterbacks. Would you lean on like a former quarterback or your coaches to kind of just help you kind of assess things and good and bad?
You saying like as far as on the field?
Yeah, both.
Stuff?
That help you mentally and physically.
No, like mentally, like my fiance, she's always there for me. So I know whenever I get home, it doesn't matter how I played, she's always gonna be there for me. She's gonna have a smile on her face and give me a hug and make me feel good no matter what. But as far as like physically, the on the field stuff, it's not nobody that I'll talk to like as far as another quarterback or anything like that. I do have people reach out to me. I do have quarterback coaches though back at home that reach out to me as well. Tell me, hey, like you need to clean this up, clean that up, and everything will be good. So those guys help me as far as that too.
What the fuck? So no one's helping him? This is a terrible look for Raheem Morris, who's the Falcons head coach, whoever their offensive coordinator is. Like, Jesus. That's rough. Rough. More around the National Football League. This is a kiss-ass question and a half from a Spanish reporter for Tua Tagovailoa before the Dolphins play this weekend in Spain.
Hi, Tua. Alvaro here. Nice to meet you, and so nice that you are in Spain. The first article that I wrote for the Spanish newspaper here was about you, and the title was Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback who changed American college football. And it was about,
Wow. That's
the impact that you had in Alabama and with that offense in a conference that was mainly about running and defense. And I was just wanted to close the circle and know if you feel the same about that. Did you feel that you changed the most important conference in?
I mean, all that's bullshit. Did he change college football? No. This guy had a hot take. He went with it, and now he's asking Tua about it. Tua's not going to give you a gold star or candy. Wrapping up around the National Football League, Justin Tucker's suspension is lifted. My question for you, what team's most likely to sign Justin Tucker since the Ravens cut his ass? You can answer that before we get out of here. That is the longer than 10-minute drill. Been interesting seeing what's going on the internet the last couple of days, and this is going to just be tinfoil hat Thursday. Put the tinfoil hat on. It's supposed to look like armor. It doesn't. It looks a little like a hood. It's armor. If I wing out the hat, maybe it looks a little less like that. What's up with all the weird promotion going on in sports right now? You've got ESPN talent promoting that solitaire game. Hey, listen, if they're paying you, promote the game. Fuck it. Are people going to play it? I don't know. Promote a solitaire gambling game. Fuck it. But ESPN told its talent, you got to stop promoting the solitaire game. ESPN talent was seemingly told at gunpoint to tell all of their followers, hey, YouTube TV's bad. They need to fix this. Well, fix what? Well, they need to fix this. It's their fault that you can't watch things on YouTube TV and ESPN. You can't see ESPN on YouTube TV because of these greedy people. So everyone was releasing essentially the same kind of post. And then I saw this yesterday. This is from Big Cat from Barstool Sports, who I am a fan of, who also was on my radio show once. Humble brag. I don't know what this is, but it's just weird.
What's up, guys? You know I love betting on sports responsibly. Obviously, it's part of being a fan. You get some skin in the game. It makes every play matter. It's great that more states are finally making it legal. No sketchy offshore sites, no weird apps, but now they're jacking up taxes again. Come on. Politicians have a spending problem, and instead of fixing it, they just keep coming after the fans like you. So Illinois already got smoked with insane tax rates, and now Pennsylvania is about to do the same thing. Stop taxing the enjoyment out of the game. Let fans in Illinois and Pennsylvania, everywhere, just enjoy betting the right way.
I mean, I think you should tax gambling. I think you should tax weed. I think you should tax whatever you can when it comes to alternative revenue streams. I don't know what the tax rate is in Illinois. I'm not someone who gambles. I truly do not know. I don't know anything about it. But it was weird seeing that. Like, the company's got to be telling him to post that, because I don't think Dan would make a post like that. So, strange. And we're seeing this all over the place. I don't like it, personally. Would I do it if I was getting paid? Yes, I would. But just know that right now, without any constraints, I don't like it. There are some who think, these are the Shedeur Sanders truthers. Some people think that Ross Tucker of CBS Sports, that Ross Tucker hates on Shedeur Sanders because of this clip.
Listen, I still remember, guys, I'm not kidding you, my grandfather, okay, who played in the leather helmet days, like God bless his heart, he hated Deion Sanders so much that in 2004, I was starting at center for the Bills against the Ravens. And this is when Deion came back and was playing for the Ravens. He offered me 10 grand to take out Deion in the game. My grandpa, okay? I was 25, he's 85, okay?
Yeah.
He doesn't even know what a bounty is. He doesn't care, but he hated how much of a showboat Deion was that much. So I think that's where some of it comes from, is that people either loved or hated Deion, and so now you're on that side, one side or the other, and you take it all out on Colorado football. And
a lot of Colorado people and the Deion Sanders people are mad about that. The Deion Sanders people, I just fucking can't with them. There's just so much. It never ends. Like, at what point do you just realize, hey, I'm kind of full of shit thinking that there is this massive conspiracy keeping Shedeur Sanders from getting on the field. And it's always based in what they believe is racism. I mean, where does it come from? I'm looking for a post that I reposted not that long ago where I was wondering whether it was AI or not. Here's one. This is from Dr. Amy Rucker. Is this a real doctor or not? Tinfoil Hat Thursday. What's happening in Cleveland isn't about ability. It's about agenda. Shedeur Sanders has proven himself everywhere he's been, yet somehow the narrative keeps shifting. You can't hide greatness forever. When truth hits the field, every doubter will have to answer for it. I don't get this. I went to her website because I'm like, is this a real doctor? Is this AI? Powerful, anointed, and eloquent are a few words to describe this powerhouse. Dr. Amy is a sought-after transformational speaker and a voice of this time. Jesus Christ. Her authenticity and inspirational style are second to none. Her ability to illuminate the Word of God while incorporating practical strategies for everyday living is life-changing. Her ministry encourages, empowers, and equips believers all over the globe to live the life Jesus afforded them unapologetically. Join her at her next event. Okay. And she responded to me when I reposted this. I was like, I can't tell what's real and what's not anymore. Like, this idea that like he's proven himself or something. This part here, like, proven himself, he's a 5th round pick. Keep running with that. I know you wish that really was the case. He's a 5th round pick. He is a 5th round pick. Why are the Shedeur Sanders fans so annoying? Like, I agree. He should be playing by now. Dylan Gabriel sucks. Fuck it. Like, rip the Band-Aid off. Let's see what happens. Maybe that happens if they fire Kevin Stefanski by the end of the year, the Browns. But, oh, God, they're so annoying. There's been a lot of Trump derangement this week, too, on a Tinfoil Hat Thursday. What's this all about? People are mad that the NFL brought President Trump on a broadcast. I can see how people who don't like Trump wouldn't like it, how people who don't want politics in their sports wouldn't like it. well, how do you platform the president? I mean, I get why they did it. They did it for ratings. And I guess it was near Veterans Day, so maybe it was for that reason too. But people were getting mad at Amon-Ra St. Brown doing the Donald Trump dance when he scored a touchdown because he knew that Trump was in attendance. And he felt the need to apologize for this on the Amon-Ra St. Brown podcast.
Let's address the elephant in the room. After your touchdown, nice play, by the way, nice, drop step or cut up field slice, but you had a touchdown celebration. Talk about it.
Yeah. So first of all, if I offended anyone, I do apologize. I did not mean to offend anyone. It was just, we're having fun. If any president was at that game, if they had a dance, I would have done it. Had nothing to do with who the president was. But even after the game, I found out, someone told me that was the first game that a president has been to in over 40 years. So first regular season game, which is crazy. So we were just having fun doing the dance. It was, nothing more, nothing less. Just quick streaming, whatever you call it.
A little fun. Nothing serious, nothing political, just.
Truly, it's a fucking dance. It's a funny dance. How dare you dance like him? Jesus. There are legit things to get mad about. Both sides of the aisle right now when it comes to the president. If you're on the left, you probably just hate him by default. If you're on the right, hey, didn't you tell us we were going to release the Epstein files? Hey, didn't you tell us we were going to not stay involved in wars that don't really help us in any way, shape, or form? Us as a country, oh, but they're our allies. Well, you can't. Ukraine really isn't, and Israel seems like a little more than an ally. But anyway, lots of Trump derangement this week. He was on the Pat McAfee show. People are mad at Pat McAfee for having him on. I'm just going to say one more time. If you are hosting a show and you have the ability to bring a president on, you're going to take it every fucking time. I would. I don't care if it's Trump, Biden, whatever. Well, I'm going to refuse a president? No. It would be clicks, views, gold mine. Why would he come on this show? There's no reason for him to come on this show. Or her someday. But people are mad that Pat McAfee had him on. That he was trying to placate both sides after he had him on. Well, he's the commander-in-chief. It's Veterans Day. People are even mad at Pat McAfee for being mad at the backlash he's gotten. People are mad that Dan Orlovsky thought it was great that Trump was on the show. And I think it is kind of annoying that we're shaming people who are coming out and saying they are Trump supporters or Republicans. And oh, but it's fine to... I think there's a little bit of a double standard there. That's all. It feels like that's the side, like if you're out and about, like, oh yeah, I like this president, everyone hates you. Where like a couple of, what was it, like years ago, like Mina Kimes is essentially promoting Tim Walz. Okay, maybe there's a difference between Tim Walz and Donald Trump, and I'm too lazy to dive into the differences. I'm just saying it's weird that people get so mad online about someone supporting a specific political candidate. And maybe we need to go back to the times where no one ever said shit about who they voted for. Maybe everyone needs to go back to just keeping your thoughts to yourselves about all that stuff. But man, lots of derangement over it. And I would like to just get mad about what the president does or doesn't do and what the president says again. He was on with Laura Ingraham. And what did he say? He'd been like talking about getting jobs and trying to hire people in the United States and then saying, hey, we don't have enough talent in the United States. Like, that's bullshit. That's something to get annoyed by. But instead, we're getting mad at Amon-Ra St. Brown for dancing, and we're getting mad at Pat McAfee for having the fucking president on his radio show. I would never bring him on. And if I did, I'd ask him about the Epstein files because there was a New York Times article that didn't really provide a whole lot of clarity on what involvement he might have had in it. Certainly wasn't a good look for him, but was it a smoking gun? I don't even know. I read that article 7 times. I was trying to figure out, wait, So did they actually have more than just like an email that's referring to him? It was weird. Very weird. Very weird. Very weird. One last thought before we get out of here. Did anyone see that noted skin suit and California Governor Gavin Newsom had a rally in Houston over the weekend? On Saturday, it was at the IBEW 176. Essentially a touchdown celebration where he responded to a Texas redistricting ballot initiative by asking California voters to draw a new map that would be more favorable for 5 congressional districts. And in California, it passed. And he wants, in response to Texas redrawing congressional maps for Democrat-led states, to redraw congressional maps, hoping that the Democrats can take control of the House next year, which does seem like it's trending towards happening as a somewhat neutral observer. The rally by Gavin Newsom was set to celebrate Texas legislators who have resisted Greg Abbott and Donald Trump's attempts to undermine the 26 election. I know there's a lot of frustration about redistricting efforts here. You were allowed to be pissed off about that. I would just like you to acknowledge that redistricting has been taking place forever and that it's not inherently racist automatically. And I think some people are painting it with that broad brush. There's a little more nuance to it. And this is what both parties do whenever they're in power or are trying to get in power. They redraw districts. And it's always strange. Take a look at the maps in Illinois. Massachusetts, a state I grew up in, is 40% Republican, and they haven't had a congressional representative this century. I'm not trying to justify anything. I'm just saying it's weird that we're focusing on this one in our backyard as if it's some racist move. No, it's a move by one political party that's trying to stay in power. I don't think it's racist. But I know a lot of people disagree. But I think that Gavin Newsom coming here to Texas on the heels of doing something very similar to Greg Abbott to say, yeah, we should keep doing this so that this doesn't undermine the election, it's a little hypocritical. No, just a little bit. I don't understand the appeal for Gavin Newsom. I never have. I don't know what he's done to make California better. All I know, he's one of the hypocritical politicians that was exposed during COVID-19 as being someone that was rules for thee, not for me. I know that he fucked his campaign manager / his friend's wife. He did a press conference about that. I saw him get stuffed in a locker by Adam Carolla during a debate of sorts. I don't get the appeal. Seems like he is trying to position himself to be the Democrat candidate for president in a couple of years. I don't get the appeal. Kind of surprised by the amount of people that showed up for this rally. It's like, yeah, he doesn't like what's going on here. He's here. Okay, and maybe he gets some votes out of this. But, yeah, I just don't get it. I don't get it. But that's just me. That's just me. We respect everyone's opinions here. Anyway, guys, I love you. You love me. Thanks for tuning into today's show. If you did, live on YouTube at Paul Gallant, Twitch at Gallant Says X, Twitter at Gallant Says Pod. Give me a like. Give me a subscription. Give me a follow. Instagram at Sports Gallant, TikTok at Gallant Says, Facebook at Paul Gallant Sports. Available after the fact wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify as well. Until tomorrow, so long, farewell, and have yourselves a wonderful rest of your Thursday. Peace!